So, LMNTS, this is parang more of text speak wordplay. If you remove all the vowels in a certain word, you can still basically read it, okay? Even without the vowels. So that's the reason why in a game show, you can buy vowels. Anyway, what is LMNTS or LMS? This is the elements of graphic design. A quick introduction. Okay, in graphic design, especially nowadays, we have a cycle of design. We have a cycle of design. Okay, there was a time when I started graphic design that the graphic design elements were too complicated or too wordy, or if you're familiar with the Photoshop filters back then, Alien Skin and Kai's Power Tools, when we discovered that, we kind of played around with it. So we ended up, one graphic designer ends up looking, the work of one graphic designer ends up looking the same as another because we're using the same filters. So we kind of outgrew that and started using Photoshop and graphic design uh, applications to its full potential. Now, uh, in branding and in identity, okay, when a product becomes popular, okay, or well known, it becomes its own identifier. Meaning, name a brand or a product that you can that you know simply by looking at its identity or logo. Anyone? Jonah?
Apple.
Apple. So when you see that logo, that uh, Apple with a bite, you know it's the Apple Macintosh. Now, why do you suppose there's a bite there in the Apple? Okay, let me just make it clear. There's a legend, there's a myth behind the Apple logo that it's the forbidden sin. It's not. Okay? The bite in the apple actually is to simplify it, well, to make it more unique because it kind of looks like any other fruit, or, for example, tomato. Without the bite, it looks like a tomato. Okay? So to distinguish it from other things, they put the bite there. So it makes the Apple logo unique. When look at the Apple logo, you know it is the Apple logo. Now, one of the other things, one of the other elements here, you can see, what are the two other elements you can see here? Okay? What's the identifying colors of these two variants of the same product? Anyone? Nikki?
Sir?
What's the in Pringles? What's the distinct elements that makes you see that it's Pringles?
Sir, color?
The color. Are you asking or are you telling?
Telling.
Telling. Okay, that's color. That's a question mark. Anyway, so Pringles. Pringles alone basically has, well, in when it comes to potato crisps, okay, Pringles own, kind of own, quote unquote, the two colors, red and green. Red, of course, and green. Red is a primary color. Green is its complement. Okay? Now, a step beyond the simplistic. Okay? Pringles itself is a simplistic design. Okay? It's just a boring vertical canister and then red and green. That when you look at it, even if you remove the logos or the icons or any other elements there, when you see the red and green, you know that it's Pringles. Okay? So, a step beyond the simplistic. When you see a triangle, what do you, uh, in terms of food, when you see a triangle, what do you immediately think of? What does it remind you of? Food, triangle,
Toblerone.
Pizza.
Toblerone. What else?
Pizza?
Pizza. Pizza is not actually technically a triangle, but okay, fine. Uh, it's a favorite snack or pulutan when you go drinking, when you go drink with
Nachos.
friends.
Oh,
Nachos.
nachos.
Nachos, okay? Nachos are usually triangular in shape. So, Doritos actually still kind of uses the same color scheme, red and green, because red basically signifies food. Red and green is also uh, symbolizes how hot, okay, a flavor is, or green, usually onion and chives, something like that, okay? So notice that when you're designing something for food, it's always somewhere in the, excuse me, in the red and orange color range. And then, of course, food is also to signify freshness. What's the color that we use to signify freshness?
Green.
Green.
Green,
Green.
usually green, usually. Okay? So, elementary, dear Watson, where is this famous phrase from?
Sherlock
Who's
daw.
who said this? Sherlock Holmes. As it turns out, Sherlock Holmes didn't really say this. Okay? Then again, doesn't matter. But we still like using the phrase. Elementary, dear Watson. When we say elementary, what do you see on your screen right now? What do you see?
Table of elements.
Y- Wow, who said that? Isa? How do you know it's a table of elements? Right away. Are you chemical engineering or did you take chemistry?
No.
No, but it it kind of resembles something, right? Okay, so Isa got it correct. Okay, if we add colors there, this now indicates the color or the element group. Okay, so the first one here, what's the first one on your top left corner? What's the first element? Ah,
Hydrogen.
hydrogen. What's the next one?
Helium.
What's the third one? Uh, Even I kind of forgot my high school, college chemistry. Of course, what else do we need aside from the shape and then the color? What's next?
Lithium.
Lithium. Okay. Someone's cheating. Someone looked at the web. It's okay, okay? So what's next? If it's lithium, how do you know it's lithium? How do you know the element right here without referencing anything? We don't, okay? So what's lacking here? We have the shape, we have the color. What's next? What's lacking?
Text.
Text, okay? When we put text, we already know that this is hydrogen, and the rest is here. We have helium. Who said lithium earlier? Was it Christina or Isa? Who said lithium?
Me.
Who are you, me?
It's Jonah po.
Jonah. Okay. Please indicate your name because I don't see your reactions right away. Okay. So lithium. Everything here in the left is our metals. Everything in the right are noble gases. Everything here are radioactive elements, so on, so forth, indicated by the colors here. So this one, what's this? just a simple test. What's the last element here? LR. I kind of know the elements, most of the elements here. So what's the LR? You can cheat. You can look it up in the web.
Laurentium.
Laurentium. Okay, stands for the guy who discovered the element. Okay, so let's proceed. We have something like this in graphic design. Uh, Now, this one is not a straightforward rule, but something more like a compiled version. Okay, you'll see plenty of other discussions like this in the web, but this is a simplified or at least a concise version. Okay, so now we have the periodic table of design, and it looks kind of like this. Okay, so everyone can see my screen again.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir.
so please mute your mics now. Uh, okay, so the first and foremost element, the main element in the corner is the character. Okay, we'll discuss this in a little while. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we have the color, we have the composition, and contrast. Okay, when you're watching TV, okay, and it's too bright, okay, what do you adjust? The contrast. Same in here. Of course, you have to make all of these elements come together, make them consistent. Now, the sides, okay, you have balance. In graphic design, you have to balance your visuals with your text. Sometimes you have to balance just visuals or just text, depending on your layout. Next, you have unity. Okay, you have to unify your design to look as if to make it look a single concept. Okay, next you have harmony. Okay, and then you have dominance. Now, although you have to achieve balance, unity, and harmony, there's also dominance of elements within the layout itself. Now, when we say dominance, it doesn't mean that an element being dominant means it takes over everything. Part of its functionality as a dominant element works for the design, not against it. Okay. Last but not least, in some form, in some designs, you have repeating objects or repeating elements. Okay, so let's discuss them one by one. Character. Character is the icon, logo, logotype, or the combination thereof. It's the identity of your design. So, as I mentioned earlier, once you see something, you know it's that particular thing. Okay? So, here, John mentioned it earlier, you have the Apple logo. What's this swoosh here? What's the swoosh? Nike.
Nike.
Do you know where the Nike logo or what the Nike logo signify? What does it symbolize? Who is Nike?
Greek goddess of victory.
Greek goddess of victory. So Nike here, okay, the swoosh, okay, signifies victory. How about this one?
Mercedes.
Mercedes. Mercedes Benz is a very, very popular, well-known brand of, what is it a brand of?
Automobile. Car.
Car.
Car, automobile, okay? And of course, if you see this, okay, this is Hugh Hefner's primary brand, the Playboy. Okay. Now, when you see these things, you know it reminds you of the brand itself. If you're running somewhere and you see three stripes, what does that remind you of? Three stripes.
Adidas.
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 Okay, it's pronounced Adidas. Okay.
Adidas. Hehe.
Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter how you pronounce it, but okay, that's how it's pronounced. Okay. I've been someone corrected me with regards to that pronunciation. An American actually told me, but Adidas is. I'm not sure if it's an American brand. It's European brand. Okay. Anyway,
German.
German. Okay, so Adidas. Also, Mercedes Benz, hindi Mercedes. Mercedes Filipino at Mexicano, but it's Mercedes. English slang. Anyway, uh, when we say character, it's the icon, it's the identity, it's the logo. So, what's the anatomy of the logo in terms of producing identity or creating identity? Of course, most logos have iconic shapes. For example, the circle is the most common of all the iconic shapes or shapes that we use for logos or icons. So, can you name any logo that has circles?
Olympics.
Olympics. What else?
Disney.
Disney. Disney?
Circles.
Disney?
Ay,
The logo of Disney is Disney, the word, but
Mickey
there's this
Mouse.
Mickey Mouse, okay? The hidden Mickey circles, of course. And then what else? One more. Who else has not chimed in? Isa, any logo that you can think of that's made with a circle?
PCCI.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Beats.
Anyway, uh, it's not really popular right now because of the pandemic, but we like coffee, right? Right? So what logo am I pertaining to?
Starbucks.
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 Starbucks. Also, Shuttle's Best is circular.
CBTL.
CBTL is Coffee Bean is circular. Oh yes, okay. Okay. So most of them have circular logos because circle logos are easy to work with. They're easy to place. They're circles. Slap them around anywhere, slap them on around anywhere, and it's a logo. Okay? So, we also have polygons and, of course, stars. And can you identify any brand or logo that's made with a triangle, a square, uh, a hexagon, a pentagon, or even a star? Name one that has a star.
Star Cinema.
Pardon? John? Is it John or
Star Cinema po.
Star Cinema? Okay, some more that has a huh?
Caltex.
Yes.
Caltex. Very good, Caltex. What's the other one?
Guess.
Guess. Okay. What else? One more. Shoe. Shoes.
Converse.
Converse. You shouldn't forget the very, very first shoe that has the star is Converse. Okay? So, we mentioned earlier Mickey Mouse or Disney. Okay? Disney is separate from the hidden Mickey. Okay? Mickey is a property of Disney. Now, how was this created. We had a technique in basic. I think Jonah knows this. Okay, do you remember Jonah? Not anymore. Anyway, uh, we can do a review of that later on. Okay, and of course, aside from shapes, we also have what we call the logo type. So, can you name quickly a brand that uses logo type instead of iconic logos?
Lego.
Lego. Okay, uh,
Disney.
Disney. Disney, actually, the logo of Disney, okay, the logo type of Disney is the Disney's own handwriting. Okay, so let's proceed. The evolution of identity, how identity or logos evolve. In particular, we have two products, okay, or two identities that we're going to discuss. Okay, we have Pepsi and Coca-Cola. We also discussed this in branding. Okay, so throughout the years, Pepsi and Coca-Cola has been at each other's throats when it comes to marketing their products. But originally, what was Coca-Cola and Pepsi marketed as? Do you know that legend? Do you know that story behind the two products? Anyone?
Medicine.
Medicine. So, Aisa, medicine. They're designed as tonic, as a cure-all. They're snake oil products. Okay? When you drink Coca-Cola or Pepsi, you will feel better. Your cold will disappear. Your skin rash will disappear. Okay? Your pimples will disappear. Something like that. Okay? Now, of course, what we know as Coca-Cola had an active ingredient. What was it? Why was it called Coca-Cola to begin with?
Cocaine.
Cocaine. Okay, how about Pepsi? How about Pepsi? Anyone? Someone's looking over the internet. It's okay, you'll look it up. Why was it called Pepsi? Okay, let's proceed. While you're looking it up, you can answer later on. Okay, so now, throughout the years, if you notice, Coca-Cola basically did not change. Okay, the first iteration of Coca-Cola is basically simple text, which is a set text, and then they started using the script form in 1900s. Of course, they followed Pepsi after that. Okay? Coca-Cola's first, Pepsi Cola followed, okay? And then they kind of copied the script form of Pepsi, but stuck with that throughout the years up until now. If you note, Pepsi has an identity problem. It has basically changed uh, from 1950 to 1962. It changed its identity rather drastically. Okay, it's like a teenager who don't know what to do or don't know what to be, and that's what Pepsi actually is. During Michael Jackson's time when he was endorsing Pepsi, okay, Pepsi's tagline was the choice of the new generation. Okay, but if you note, there was a certain instance Coke, when Coke came in cans, okay, they used the word Coke, of course, with the swoosh. Now, part of Coca-Cola's identifying marks is that Coca-Cola swoosh, which actually kind of came from Pepsi. They had that swoosh there, okay? Pepsi still has the swoosh there, like so, okay? This is the current version of Pepsi. Okay, I do not like it. personally. But there's logic behind this. This is a teenage smirk. Questions? Okay. Wait, I have to change your view to gallery so I can see you all. Okay. So let's continue. These are some of the other identities that have evolved throughout the years. Of course, Apple basically started like this. It looks like an apple orchard. And then this was the next iteration. This is the more famous iteration, which lasted more than 10 years. Okay. And then this one, the plain black. And right now, it has several other iterations of the logo, but the basic logo stays the same. Now, shell literally started with the shape or the form of a shell, like so, and then throughout the years, it adapted the red and yellow colors. Okay, what other icon or logo or brand do you can you uh, think of that uses the red and yellow form?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. McDonald's is basically yellow. What else?
Most food corporations.
Most food corporations. How about photography?
Kodak?
Kodak. Kodak primarily also uses the red and yellow icon. Okay, and then of course some of these you are familiar with GE. There's Quanon, which is actually a Taiwanese brand, and it's actually the current logo of Canon is here. And this is how you know a brand is very successful when the activity that you do with it becomes it. For example, please Xerox this. Whereas the actual activity is what?
Photocopy.
Photocopy this. But of course, please Xerox this is colloquial, mainly here in the Philippines. Uh, Same with, can you buy me toothpaste? Can you buy me Colgate? What brand? Pepsodent. Colgate became synonymous with what? Toothpaste. There's also bili ka ng Vetsin. Okay? Before Ajinomoto, there was a brand called Vetsin. Okay? Which is basically MSG. And that name stuck even though the brand no longer exists. Okay? I don't see, whenever I go to the supermarket, I no longer see the brand Vetsin. Okay? But again, it became synonymous. There's also Kodak. Kodakan tayo. Okay? Now, of course, there's IBM, BMW, and Volkswagen. It's pronounced Volkswagen, as my high school English teacher once corrected us. Okay? It's not, we read it as Volkswagen, but it's Volkswagen, as in, what does Volkswagen mean? This is a German brand. What does that mean? Anyone?
People's car.
The people's car, the people's wagon. Okay? Now, color. We see color everywhere, unless of course you're colorblind. Dogs are colorblind. Bulls and cows are colorblind. Uh, I know of an art director who was colorblind, so he has our visualizer. He brings him next to him when back then when he's determining colors. So what is this color here? He's colorblind with green. So anything green looks gray to him. Now, most designs follow a certain psychology. Someone said that when it comes to food, it's mostly red and yellow. Okay, most of the icons that we see, for example, Mang Inasal. Mang Inasal is Mang Inasal red and green or red and
Green and
yellow?
yellow.
Green and yellow. Uh, Jollibee. Jollibee is
Red
mostly
and white.
Red
red
and
and
white.
white. McDonald's is yellow and red, so on and so forth. When it comes to food, those colors are mostly associated as such. Now, what is this on your screen? What do you see here?
Color wheel.
Color wheel.
The color wheel. Now, the color wheel is something we use to determine color combination or color combinations or color themes. For example, earlier we saw Pringles. The main color of Pringles is red. Its variant color is green, which is also its complementary color. Now, if you check, these are the color range of food, okay, up to here. These are salad colors. These are sky and nature colors right here, okay? So, you can also use, if you have Adobe Illustrator, you can also use Adobe Illustrator's color guide to determine color combinations here. Okay, when we say complementary, that's the red and green, and then complementary to, it follows the supplementary colors next to red and green. Split complementary, left complementary, right? Analogous. Analogous colors are, if you have red, every other color that you will see has an element or component of red and magenta. Okay, and so on and so forth. Aside from that, there's if you don't have access to Illustrator currently, you can go to the web and check the online color wizard or color wheel, which is available in colors on the web slash color wizard. Now, if you check the main website, okay, it has other tools for you to use there to determine or create color themes. Now, basic color theory. The most color combinations used are analogous and complementary. Okay, for certain art designs, they go beyond that from monochromatic, split complementary, left complementary, left analogous, so on, so forth. But in most cases, we see these kinds of combinations. This is analogous, meaning these are close to each other. Green has an element of yellow, light green has an element of yellow. Okay, and these are complementary colors. Now, if you take note, both are food items. Now, this one, when you see a salad and you have brown in it, are you still going to eat it? Anyone? If you see a leaf that's brown, are you still going? Sorry, are you still going to eat it?
No.
If it's bacon,
If it's if it's
if it's
bacon,
bacon, I mean, yeah, it's
that's
different.
Croutons.
that's a good answer. But I'm pertaining to a leaf that's brown,
No.
meaning no, you won't eat the leaf that's brown. But of course, if it's bacon, you'll eat it. If it's if it's uh,
Croutons.
Croutons are creamy light brown. Okay, so there's a certain combination. There's a certain psychology. Of course, if you see something red like orange, okay, red orange, which are carrots, you're still gonna eat it. But if you see
Um,
something brown or dark in the carrots, would you eat it? You probably give it back to the waiter and please, I have brown in my carrots. Of course, food servers and chefs and food preparers already determine that beforehand, so they won't really give you something that's already spoiled that you won't eat. Okay, there's that psychology there. Also, when you go to the supermarket, food are arranged in such a way that they are like rainbows. Okay, and this actually drives you to buy stuff. Okay, in most cases, that is. Freshness depends on how bright the colors are. If the apple has certain brown in it or dark spots on it, or bananas for that matter, okay, it kind of ruins the freshness factor. Next, composition. These are how the elements are combined and known as the overall layout. How do you compose these elements? So here you have the idea behind here is uh, how to compose something, okay? How to compose this particular flyer, okay, without maximizing maximizing the space, but still making it look fluid. Okay. Also, when I started this, I was a consultant for Kenny Rogers for a couple of months or so. The graphic designer was working on this, and all they had was this one here, this tagline here. And the graphic designer named this the bug off. Why bug off? It's buy one get one free. So bug off. Uh, they didn't have an actual tagline or headline, so I'm seeing double. And that actually became the tagline or the phrase for the promo. Okay? So when you compose this, how do you arrange certain elements so as they still work together without having to interfere with each other? Okay? Of course, here uh, I will make this a little bit smaller, but still the layout works. Okay. Now this one is more isolated from each other. Each element is more isolated from one another. The headline is distinctly separated. The text are separated. The photos, though they are sort of collaged, they are still distinct and separate from each other. No other elements are overlapping with each other. Okay? Contrast. I mentioned this earlier. When you're watching TV, it's too bright or it's too dark. You increase the brightness or decrease the brightness, so on and so forth. And then you do that to generate or increase the contrast, so you can see what's behind, what's behind, what's in front, and what's in between. Okay. Without contrast, you won't be able to see certain elements. Now, if the word here, Hershey's, was also dark brown, you won't be able to see it. Okay? So, this is direct contrast. Light, light over dark. This one is the reverse, dark over light. Here, you have a very, very complex background, the Philippine Internet Review, okay? But, of course, with a certain effect here, this is simple white text over a dark background, okay? You can generate contrast. This one, dark background, multiple elements, multiple text, light over dark. This one, varied contrast, varied colors. Now, to make the icon, to make the illustration of Ash and Pikachu pop, what was added? What was added to generate contrast?
Outline,
No?
a
This
shadow.
one, we added the shadow to generate a little bit of contrast. Okay, so it doesn't look flat. Here, we added the outline. Okay, although this didn't really need any outline because there's clear contrast. This is done so as this is for people who have color blindness. Okay, okay. In some cases, there are people who cannot see between green and blue. So if you add a white there, it generates enough contrast. This one is something old school that you should no longer do. Okay, the one here. When I did this, this was the era where we are using heavy filters, heavy effects, and I no longer do this. Okay, I put this here as an example of things I no longer do, but used to. Okay, back then this was very, very nice. Of course, back then it was nice. The client approved it, Barry approved it, so I got paid. But nowadays, I won't do anything like this anymore. Okay. Also, this is kind of a complicated brochure because this is a fold in. It folds inwards and outwards, and it's kind of tricky back then. Next, consistency. Of course, when you're using a lot of elements, it has to be consistent. You cannot use certain typefaces or fonts on certain layouts. You cannot use certain colors on certain products. Okay? Uh, when you're going to design something for, say, ube ice cream, are you going to use red? What's the first color for ube ice cream that comes to mind?
Violet.
Violet or purple or anything in that range. Violet, blue, green, purple, so on and so forth. Pink or magenta is also applicable. But you won't really use red because red and purple kind of clash. Okay? Now, are the proper colors used? Are the elements working properly together? Is the typeface count rule being followed? The typeface count rule, what in the places is that? So, what is the typeface count rule? Remember, this rule actually applies to most things in graphic design, okay? Even in photography for that matter. So, what is the typeface count rule? You have one, it's okay. Meaning, using one typeface or one font is okay. Two, if one is okay, two is what? Anyone?
Better.
Two is better. How about Christine? Wild guess. Christine,
2 is enough.
someone cheated and looked at the because it's there in your handout. Okay, two is enough. Okay, if two is enough, 3 is too much.
Too much.
Okay? This rule is applicable to most things that we do. For example, when submitting design studies, how many studies are we going to give the client? There you go. One is okay. The client asks for more. Two is enough. Three is too much. Of course, I I usually do three or more just for certain clients. Okay? Now, why is this rule important? Especially when submitting studies to clients, because you don't want to saturate your client with an overabundance of ideas that that will kind of confuse them. Okay, if it confuses them, it becomes more difficult for you, because in the end you will have to edit those, you will have to consider those, you will have to revise those decisions. What if in one of those occasions, client, I want this element in study number 2, and this element in study number 3, and the element in study number 10. Okay, no one does 10 studies. We only do up to 3 or 4. Okay, in some cases I've done the worst, I've done 10, nothing was accepted. Okay, so psychology, I have 2 good designs and 1 pangit or ugly design. Guess which one was accepted? I have 2 good designs and 1 pangit na design or ugly design or not really that good design. Guess which one was accepted? This happened actually. So what do you suppose was accepted? I'm actually asking you guys. Guess which one was accepted?
The one
One.
design.
The pangit design.
The pangit or ugly design? Well, technically it's like this. When I say pangit or ugly design, it's not my best work, but it doesn't mean it's not really that bad. Okay, it's not really that bad. Okay, it's still passable, but you know, it's like a wild card. Okay, so sometimes it does happen. In photography, you have the 1/3 rule as well. So here, can you read this, the one in the middle? Can you read this? What is the phrase?
Go to
Go to
hell.
hell.
See, even though it's intricate, even though it's too complicated, it's too complex, you can still read this. But you can see the consistency here. It's using red and yellow. It's not really food, but it's using red and yellow. But it's a phrase that can apply to graphic design as well and how we deal with clients. Okay, a diplomat is a person who can tell you to go to hell in such a way that you actually look forward to the trip. Now, we don't do this to clients, by the way. We don't tell them to go to hell. They tell us to go to hell. Okay, and we actually look forward to it because graphic design is sometimes hellish, especially with problematic clients. Okay, but we have to learn how to handle those clients well enough that they come back to us. Okay, so again, are the proper colors used? Are the elements working together? Is the typeface count rule being followed here? This is my, for the longest time, my main bread and butter, Proactive, and its sister company, Data. Okay, the product here has this color scheme, the white and green. Of course, whenever we do a new material, it still depends on the principal design. Okay, but we adapt to that as well later on. Here, we use basically the main colors. Are the proper colors used? Are the proper colors used here? Okay, if I have this green and white and I use the red proactive here, red on the proactive here, is it proper colors? Did I use a proper color here?
No.
No. When you have a brand and it has a brand color, you should never deviate from the color. Of course, if I have a very dark green background, I can reverse this instead and make it white. Okay, that's one of the rules of thumb in uh, doing when handling uh, darker backgrounds. Okay, usually that's how it's done. Of course, nowadays most brands are already simplified, meaning they're minimalistic. For example, Apple logo is simply black and white. Okay, so you can use black and white, black for light backgrounds, white for dark backgrounds. The same here. The main color for the light backgrounds, the white for the dark backgrounds. Okay, so this one here is the inside. Okay, in order to maintain consistency, I used a single font here, which is Myriad. Of course, when you say you're using a single font, it doesn't mean you cannot use the family underneath the family included in the font. Myriad has several other, excuse me, Myriad has several other fonts in its family. So Myriad regular, Myriad italic or oblique, Myriad bold, bold italic, condensed, extra black, so on and so forth. And you can use that. You're still using Myriad, but you're just using the style that includes with the font. Okay, you're able to make certain variation without deviating from the rule. Okay, the only font that's not Myriad here is the one in the brand itself. Okay, here, well, actually this is also Myriad, but here this one is a different font. Okay, that's the only time you can go beyond or violate the rule. If it's a violator. Okay. Now, also, uh, one third's rule applies in graphic design. This is one third. This is one third. This is one third and two thirds here. One third for the paragraph. Okay, but those are just mainly estimates. Now, this project here is a series of products by BPI. So checking, credit cards, life and non-life insurance, loans, investments in trust funds, and of course deposits. If you notice that to make it consistent, they use the same, we use the same font here across the board. We use the same color scheme, mainly red and its tones and shades. Okay, this is if this is red, this is a shade of red. This is a tone of red. Orange is basically a tone of red as well. Now, I've also directed most of the photos here. I actually directed all of these in terms of art directed the photos here. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, balance. Now, when we say balance, we sometimes literally mean the balance between left and right, top and bottom. Okay? Sometimes we can check if our design is in balance simply by measuring the design elements in the layout. Okay, so still also the positioning of those elements. Also, yes, who's that? Uh, Christine, were you asking a question?
No, sir.
Uh, please mute. Please
I'm
mute.
good.
No, please mute your
Oh, I'm
mic.
sorry.
Okay, thank you. Now, here, if you check, this is basically balanced top and bottom. The colors themselves are balanced even though they're using the same color scheme. Okay, this is not too light that you cannot see the color of the text anymore. Okay, there's visual balance here. Literally, there's visual balance because this is, if you measure this later on, okay, this is basically half of the design. Now, this is a slightly complicated layout. This one is something I don't really like doing when I have to tackle a lot of text. In order to create balance for this, okay, I have to make certain compromises. I don't like going. Uh, I don't like using font sizes below 6. 7 is actually my optimum, but if worst comes to worst, I'll use 6. And then I'll use spacing as well. And sometimes I use a trick that I will condense a text manually. Instead of using a condensed version, I'll use an actual regular size font and then condense it to 80 or 75% in order to fit the text. Personally, I don't like doing this, but again, in order to achieve balance, if you note, I placed it in a lighter background on top of the actual dark background. This is an old school technique. You use something like this, a light background, but you can still see underneath the. Okay, you can still see the texture underneath the text. Okay, in order uh, to get the continuity of the image. Same here. You can still see the background on these areas here. But in order to achieve balance, I have to move things around. I have to position things around so I still have enough white space. Okay, this is a delivery menu, by the way, for Kenny Rogers. Now, unity. Uh, you have to achieve all of these to unify them into a single coherent layout. And this pertains mostly to the shapes and textures used in the layout and how they work as one. Okay, so note note the shape here. The main texture that I used here is a very simple one, which is a simple green to light yellow-green gradient. Gradients, by the way, are also considered as texture. Okay, but it kind of works because of how colorful the icons here are in relation to the colors of the characters here. Okay, now this one here, this kind of drowns already. The yellow is already drowning because this is almost yellow as well. So if I went down any further, you won't be able to read this anymore. Okay, next, harmony. Uh, Graphic design is similar to music. There's also color harmony. If you don't have color harmony, your layout will not work. So it pertains to how colors combine to enhance certain elements of the design. Of course, there are certain materials that you'll see that don't really use colors, just plain grayscale or black and white, and it actually works. So, for example, this one, excuse me. Okay, this one, I mentioned earlier, this is not ube, this is chocolate, but Cadbury, it kind of owned the blue purple color when it comes to chocolates. So whenever you see blue, okay, and it's a chocolate, it kind of relates to Cadbury right away. So here, it harmonizes its color variant based on the flavor, okay, but it still works because of the subtle differences of the color as it gradiates into the center. Okay, this is orange, this is brown. Then again, chocolate is brown, so it's easy. But here, Cadbury made it work that the color brown actually blends with the color blue. But note, they had to create an outline here to make it pop more against the blue background. Okay, they didn't really have to do it here, but for consistency, they applied it to every variant. Now, dominance. Now, this is very important. You can create a layout with everything in it dominant, okay, without them clashing with each other. You can, but it's kind of tricky to pull off. It's easier to do when you only have two elements. Okay? Dominance breaks the monotony of anything in a layout, such as a large or dark object set against a sea of small light objects. Remember what I did earlier with the proactive iPad here. Okay? This is breaking the dominance of the larger background. So here, when we say dominance, it's immediately achieved when there's a single or unified set of objects running across the entire width or length of the layout. For example, this one, which are the dominant elements? There are two dominant elements there. Anyone? I haven't heard from Philomena yet. Philomena,
Yes, sir.
uh, what's the dominant elements here? There are two.
It's yellow and brown.
Okay, but those are the dominant colors. But what's the dominant element?
The shape of circles for the M&Ms.
Okay, what else?
The outlines of the words to make it pop against the yellow.
Okay, here, the actual dominant parts, okay, this one is your dominant color, the yellow. Okay, if it's, the this is the peanut version, okay?
Mm.
So you'll know it's the peanut version because it's yellow. So what's the color of the milk chocolate version?
Brown?
Blue?
Red.
Red.
Oh, red.
Okay, in the packaging, we're talking about the packaging of M&Ms. Okay, whenever you see a red M&M package, it's milk chocolate. Whenever you see yellow, it's, we just mentioned it earlier,
Peanuts.
peanuts. Okay, what's blue? There's a blue M&M, right? I don't know what that variant is, but there's a blue M&M. Or am I talking about Skittles? Anyway, so here the dominant elements are the word or the logo of M&M, which is M and M. And of course, they share dominance with the iconic peanut mascot and iconic red mascot. Note, since this is the peanut version or the peanut variant, the peanut is in front. Who's in back? The red version. If you check the milk chocolate version, the red guy is in front, peanut is in back. So this is how you play with the elements to determine dominance. Which one is dominant here? This one, here on the left, the power extreme battery. Which one is the dominant element? The background or the logo? It's an actual question. You have to answer, everyone. Hi, everyone.
Logo.
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 The logo.
Are you sure it's just
I
the
think it's
logo?
the background.
It's the background. If you said logo, you're correct. If you said background, you're also correct because they are both dominant. They share dominance within the page. Okay? Of course, if I made the logo any bigger, any larger, okay, it already ruins the layout. How about this? Here. Which one is dominant?
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry's face is the most dominant. But then again, so are these. They are still dominant within their section. This is 1/3. Note, I kind of followed the shape here. When I did this was more than 10 years ago. I'm still learning the ropes of the brand. So we're still experimenting here. Right now, the layout is cleaner. We no longer do this kind of uh, a complex layout. It's usually just the endorser, okay, the photo of the endorser, and the logo or the brand itself or the product itself. Okay, we no longer do this kind of things, kind of layout anymore. Okay, we simplified it. Next, repetition. Okay, after this, we can take a break. With repetition, you have certain elements that you multiply or repeat over and over again to create an interesting effect. For example, this one. What is the element that is repeated?
The hexagons.
Hexagons, okay? It's created. What does this, when you repeat the hexagon over and over again, what does it signify? What does it represent?
Honeycomb.
Unity.
Honeycomb, okay? Honeycomb translates to what insects?
B.
Bees, okay? So bees. Bees are,
Working, like they're working bees.
okay, so
Greasy.
this layout, this concept is about workers, about employees working together. Okay, so the hexagon actually signifies that, actually gives you an idea of what the concept is about. Okay, although it doesn't indicate here what it's about, but this one gives you an idea of what the service is about. It's about workers working together. Okay, next, what is the repeated element here?
The product.
The products, okay? The product. Ignore this guy. Not important. Now, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Of course, he was an endorser for Proactive before. So here, note the color combination that we have used here. It's not within the scope of the product, but you know why we use this color here? Why did we use orange and violet?
The shirt.
The shirt. Okay. Also, uh, during that time, he was also promoting his girlfriend perfume, and the girlfriend perfume is colored orange and violet. I don't know why. Okay, so as part of the promo back then, we had a proactive set and a free girlfriend perfume pouch or set as well. Okay, this one is something I did for one of the Coke SM events. Okay, so what are the repeated elements here?
Bottle
The
caps.
bottle caps. Okay, I used Adobe Illustrator to create a 3D of the bottle caps here. Okay, so if you remember your 3D, you can use them to create symbols for this. Okay, any questions so far? No questions? Okay, so as it turns out, this is usually a 3 hour seminar, especially for large crowds. But since we are only a few here, and you're not asking questions, important questions, we kind of ran through the seminar fast. So I'll show you a few other samples later on, okay, with regards to our topic. So effective use of type. Type is very, very important when it comes to graphic design. In most cases, you won't see anything that you won't see any material that doesn't have any type. Okay, so for example, you're looking at a bank brochure. They're talking about housing loan. Of course, you'll see plenty of text there. Now, if the text in that brochure isn't readable enough or not clear enough or not big enough for everyone to read, that you need a magnifying glass, for example, old people like us, we need special glasses to read small type. In some cases, I have to like, if you see this, okay, this is a packaging for a chewing gum. Okay, and in order for me to read this, I either had to use my reading glasses or do this. Okay, so I have to read like this. So type in essence is very very important because it relays the primary information. Okay, although we can do things or we can relay information via visual images, okay, type is still the easiest way to convey information. So now there are the choice of typeface is rather significant. Okay, so if you have say a product or a brochure, now you cannot use script form or script font on a on body text. Okay, you can only use it, you only should use it on headlines and sometimes in just the first letter. You've seen that kind of technique before or treatment before, okay? But if you are going to use, can you use grunge font or text on corporate materials? Can you? When you say grunge, it's that distressed font, messy font. Can you? No one's answering.
No.
No, you can't.
No.
Okay, you have to be very very selective. Even clients will tell you use Helvetica. Even though Helvetica is overused, you will still have to use Helvetica, especially if the font is their corporate typeface or corporate font. So here's a quick test. As I mentioned earlier, okay, this is a good example or a good portrayal of what I'm talking about. Of course, the larger text or the larger font sizes are for what? When you're looking at a page, okay, what are the elements or what are the components of a page of text? What's the topmost part of, let's say, newspaper? What's the
Headline.
The
topmost?
headline.
No, not the headline.
The
That's
header.
the header. What else? The masthead. Okay, the masthead is the name of the newspaper, and then we'll go to the article. What's the topmost part or text of the article? You just mentioned it earlier, the
Headline.
headline. Okay, and then you have next to the headline is the, if there's, for example, COVID-19 strikes again. What's the text underneath?
To continue on a different page in the
No,
newspaper.
no, 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 no.
The sub.
The sub, the
Text. Subtext.
sub
Head.
headline. Headline, sub headline. Okay? And then, of course, you go through, you have the body text na. Okay? Of course, there's also the byline. The byline is, what's the byline? For
The name of
newspapers?
the author.
The name of the author, or in that, for that matter, authors. And then you also have bylines for the photographer. If you see a photo there, there's a byline there for the photo by. Okay. Now, this represents the headline, the sub headline or the subhead. You have the byline. It can be a little bit smaller, and then up to this point, you have the body, the the title. Okay, of the wait. Title, subtitle, and then body text, and then of course you have the in some articles or magazines you have the one underneath. What do you call that? Footer or source. The one that's italicized usually. Okay, the footer. Okay, so this one actually represents that. Okay, you can clearly see the headline because it's large, and then you'll have to look a little bit closer when you're reading the body text. Now, examples of type as identifiers. When we see type as identifiers, we're talking in particular about logo type. So name any other logo type that you can think of. I'll do this one by one. Jonah,
Sir, what was the question? I was late.
logo type.
Ano?
Name a brand that's only logo type. No icon whatsoever.
Um,
Think of a phone. An
Nokia?
indestructible Nokia. Nokia. Okay. Nokia is an
Yes, sir.
industrial. What's that indestructible phone? 5310?
3310.
Yeah, okay. And then next, Isa. Think logo type.
Acer.
Does Acer have a logo? Everyone, do you agree? Does Acer have an icon logo?
It's just text.
Just text. Domini,
Lego.
Lego again?
Yeah, or CNN. Okay, I'll go with CNN.
Okay, CNN. Anthony,
Sony, the old one.
Sony. Philomena,
Sunny Studios.
Sunny,
Sunny Studios. The
Sunny.
glasses.
Oh,
The sunglasses.
Oh, okay. Christina,
Um, uh, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Logo type.
Uh,
Logo type. A brand that doesn't have an icon, just logo type or word.
um, Lego.
Domini already mentioned Lego.
Um, hmm,
But while you're, please mute your mic first, Christina. I have a joke about Lego.
in,
Okay? Pardon?
Intel.
Intel. Intel has a logo, has an iconic logo, right? Anyway, let's proceed with the joke of Lego. Okay? Now, someone, this is a corny joke, so bear with me. Someone was, yeah, I forgot the joke. Later. Anyway, John Mellord, logo type.
Yung wala logo.
Yung walang logo, yung type lang, text lang, yung logo niya.
Bench.
Bench. Did you say bench? May icon ng bench. May icon ng bench. Nikki, we'll go back to you, John and Christina.
Google.
Google. Very good. Google is basically the word Google. So, there. What's the logo for bench? They've actually rebranded na, no? But the original logo for bench is
It just
a,
has like a slash at the
pardon?
end. At the end of the word bench, there's like a slash.
Here. No, this is
The
logo
older
type.
version is the bench. The bench as in the upuan. That's their icon before. Now it's only B is the icon they use.
But previously they have that iconic bench.
Oh, is it this one? This B?
No, not that one. Anyway, let's proceed. Christina, anything aside from Lego?
FedEx.
FedEx, very good. FedEx is also uh, using negative space. Okay, so let's continue and let's wrap this up quickly. Uh, you have here Chips Ahoy and Google. Okay, the logo itself is the logo type, and they're using, what are Chips Ahoy and Google using? What kind of typeface? Answer that later. Let's proceed first. You have Jeep and PayPal and Coca-Cola and Pringles. What is the typeface Chips Ahoy and Google are using? What is the kind of typeface?
Sans serif.
No?
Serif.
Serif. Okay? So you have here serif. Hindi ito yung I shot the serif, but I did not shoot the sans serif. Okay? Now, in most cases, you'll see those logo types as just using regular typefaces na serif and sans serif. but there are logo types. Of course, Pringles here has the mustache icon guy. Okay? So also Coca-Cola is a special script. It's not really a font. Okay? It's hand-drawn. And so it falls under the special characters or the special logo type uh, category. Okay? So any questions? No questions? Now, I'll show you a few things. Okay, so these are earlier work of mine. If you notice, they're very, very simplistic. I used a lot of gradients, and those who have taken, John, will you be able to take the advanced Adobe Illustrator class next October? May schedule na tayo for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this one here actually uses, people thought that this was done in Photoshop. No, the ray of light that you see here was done using none other than the gradient mesh. Okay, so you can use gradient mesh to create simple backgrounds that doesn't look like Photoshop. Or
Sorry,
looks,
sir.
yes,
Sir, are you sharing your screen? I can't see it.
sorry,
Is it just me?
no,
Ako
no.
din.
No, I also can't see.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So these are earlier works, very, very simple logos uh, using Illustrator techniques. Okay, so here I use gradients. Okay, and blends. These are actually blended objects. This one, simple gradients. This one, using gradient mesh. Okay. Next, I mentioned earlier a combination of script and regular typefaces. Here, this actually represents what? This one, the curling E. What does it represent? The
It's like the old the old browser that you used to search for internet in. I forgot what it's called. Internet Explorer.
Internet Explorer. Okay, a lot of people thought it looks like Internet Explorer, but if you look at Internet Explorer, the E of Internet Explorer, it's not really the same thing. Okay, it kind of looks like that, but again, this is simply a word play of sorts for Philippine Internet. Okay, Internet Expo. Okay, the P is there somewhere. Okay, so this is also the first time I went to Cebu. Okay, next, simple layouts for newsletters using Adobe Illustrator as well. Okay, if you note, these are simple composites. There's enough contrast there. There's enough balance there. Same here. This one, this is for my longtime client, Top American Product Solutions, using simply Myriad. This is the one that you saw earlier in one of the samples. This one is a little bit complicated. I didn't like doing this logo, but I was forced to do it. This one is using a combination of script fonts, okay, and of course simplicity, minimalistic logo for Lane Comets is a an OB-GYN doctor. Uh, I've done a few stuff back then with Quest Ventures, and they actually sell or conduct games with Pokemon cards, which is this. This is the first and only newsletter ever made for the game. Okay, and of course we created banners and posters for that activity as well. And you've seen this earlier in one of the slides. Okay, now these are all done in Illustrator. This one, gradient mesh. This one is done in Photoshop, but of course there's an Illustrator element there here. Okay, you've seen this earlier. Now this one is this is not really for Coca-Cola itself, but Coca-Cola bottlers. Okay, the Coca-Cola bottlers is the marketing arm for Coke here in the Philippines. Not the advertising agency, but the one that they have certain events in promoting the, the drink. Okay, so I've done several events here, about 4 or 5 of them throughout through a span of 4 to 5 years. Okay, so same concept, tiger, using the same color schemes. Okay, you've seen this earlier. Now this is literally a, a play on a battery. Okay, kind of looks like a battery as well. This one is fairly new. I just did this last year before the before the around what time was this? Summer last year. Okay, and you can see the the use of negative space there. Where's the use of the negative space there? Anyone?
In the P.
In the P. Okay, so what is that?
Eagle?
It's an eagle. Okay, it's the it's a Philippine eagle, which is also this one here. A lot of people mistake this one for a chicken. Okay, so it kind of looks like a chicken, but okay. But when they see this, okay, it's not a chicken. It's a larger bird that looks like a chicken. Okay, I
I
was
thought
trying to
it's a larger
avoid.
chicken.
It's a larger chicken. I was trying to avoid making him look like Foghorn Leghorn. Are you familiar with that character? Foghorn Leghorn. Are you familiar with him? No? Looney Tunes. Okay. You didn't grow up with those characters. Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam, Sylvester, and Tweety. Okay. I wanted to do something like that here, but I couldn't. Anyway, this one is one of our PCCI instructors in photography, Andy Samaniego. I did a rebrand of his logo, and this one is the final. Okay, his original logo is something similar. Okay, but I did a rebrand to just make it look more streamlined. Now this one is a pending project up until now. I'm not sure if it's going to continue. This is a brand study on Radiance Review. When the client called me here, she told me that we have a project, okay? And I was still a bit asleep. I was half asleep when she called me. and I put the phone down. A month later, she called me again. Tony, are you prepared to present our logo study for Radiance Reveal? Ah, okay, give me 30 minutes. So I did this in 30 minutes, or most of it. Again, proactive, but yeah, this in this case, we started doing the minimal look, okay, almost medically sanitized look. Excuse me. Same here. And of course, aside from proactive TAPS or Top American Product Solutions, also carry a few other products here. Uh, we, these three are the latest: Drive, New Brilliance, and TAC, okay, or Bell Howell, okay. So these are banners for Shopee and Lazada, but still all through Watsons. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Now here, this one is my this is one of my favorite projects because it allowed me to work with several studies, okay, and both with actually a couple of studies, and both studies were approved. So both studies were actually produced as flyers. I don't have the other study here yet, but again, this is one of those things that actually worked so well. It was seamless, almost seamless during the production that I didn't have any problem. It took me less than 2 weeks to from start to finish, and we were already in production. Okay, and of course you've seen this. What you've seen earlier is this part, but this is actually a part of a series of inserts, okay, in a folder, in a designated folder. And when you arrange them, okay, you'll see one headline, all of the headlines as if they're one, okay. If you put this here on top here, you have company profile, products and services, and quality, security, prices. You can see all of those headings, and you can simply flip them through, okay. Which is, this is also an earlier version of that. Note the difference between the light version, okay, the clinical version, and the overly contrasted version. Both still, both can actually work, okay. These are two separate, uh, there's actually a third version, which is this one. But of course, this one was uh, I also enjoyed working with this because it allowed me to use a lot of contrasting shapes and colors. Questions? And of course, from this one, we now go full clinical look, as in all white colors, mostly white colors, barely anything, any pattern or any texture behind it. So uh, we are still in this kind of we're still in this kind of formatting since last year. Again, since because of the COVID, uh, I I this this is one of the last things I've done for them. Any questions? This is, by the way, a booth design. Okay, see this mark here? This is actually a large booth of 4 by 8 feet. So this is a very, very large booth. Questions? No questions? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, please fill out the survey right now. And the online training survey. Wait, let me just share that screen with you. Here, can you see this? Please fill this out, the end of training survey. And Brian, do you have any other things to discuss with them? Brian?
Hello, sir.
Okay. Please,
Yeah.
please,
Patapos ka na, sir?
yes.
All right.
Uh, Before I turn you over to Brian, if you have any questions that suddenly comes to mind after the discussion, okay, you may share or you may post your questions here, okay, by clicking here and then addressing the specific person that you want to talk with, okay? Now, you can choose any which one here, but if it's a general question, you don't have to indicate the name here. Just put in all students and then share the question, okay? And we can address that question later on. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yun sana yung sasabihin ko, sir.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
so class, guys, the class will end up here, no? So, yun nga sabi ni sir, everything is uploaded in the Google Classroom, no? It will be there for 15 days. So, pwede nyong balikan. I hope meron kayong lahat access to that. And I uploaded actually the link here sa chat box. So, pwede nyong puntahan. And then, please answer the survey. No, it is required para dun sa ma-receive nyo yung certificate natin that will be sent via email. Okay? So in case you guys are interested to our upcoming class, please check our website, no, www.pcci.com.ph. Andun yung mga incoming classes pa namin. That's all. Hope you had a wonderful experience, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
po.
you.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Wala naman kayong questions, but again, I'm pretty sure something will come up. Of course, when you ask questions, it has to be related with graphic design. Don't ask me if how I am with my lab life. I won't answer that. I'm
Tapos
just
for my question.
okay.
Oh,
Dominic, sorry.
finally.
Yeah, quick question lang po. What's the suggested webinar or training po after this one?
Ryan, Domini, what have you taken so far?
Or for graphics design, this is the first one pa lang po, sir.
Wala ka pang ibang subjects?
Wala.
Okay.
You're a diploma ba, Domini?
No.
No.
Okay, we better communicate with Brian later on. Offline question siya, so you can post that question as well, or email Brian. Okay, email. Just email us.
Siguro you leave your details na lang here, Domini. I'll have someone to answer your question kasi I'm not an expert din.
Okay. It's like this. What's your plan? So it will really depend on what you want to learn in as a whole. Kasi we can start recommending. I don't really want to start recommending subjects or topics that you won't be able to use. So we need to know what your future goal is. Okay, so we can determine a good learning pathway for you. Okay, that goes for everyone. Okay, if you are doing the diploma program, you already have set classes and topics for you that's already predetermined. But for those who have not really taken anything else in PCI, you can discuss it with our with the designated person. Okay, Brian will coordinate with Katz, our program director. Okay,
Director, yes.
our
Actually, i-endorse kita kay Miss Jenny. I don't know kung si Miss Jenny yung nakausap mo. Yes, sasabihin niya sa'yo kung ano yung pwede mong next i-tackle. Kasi i-consider din natin yung mga available classes right now kasi wala kaming face-to-face. So, kung ano lang yung mga available online yun, baka pwede niyang i-direct sa'yo kung ano yung next best for you if you're pursuing a graphic design course. Okay?
okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay, one more thing, one last word, okay? We're still adjusting with the online learning thing. I know it would
Yes.
be a little bit difficult for some of you as we have experienced so far, but we are going to adjust. We really want you to learn. So even in live training, in live face-to-face training, we keep asking, do you have any questions? Is that clear to you? Again, if there's something not clear to you, do not hesitate to ask questions even if they're offline na. Okay? The classroom, the Google Classroom is there for you to do not hesitate. Just because that it's over, it doesn't mean that your learning session is over. Okay? You still have this particular uh, class, okay, is available for you to you for 15 days, and then still after that you will being a PCCI student, you'll be you're still what it is uh, you're still given a chance to ask more questions, okay, clarifying questions for that matter. Of course, all of our sessions, all of our webinars and topics and classes have pre-registers. Okay, so just in case you want to relearn or retake the class, you'll be free to do so. Just make sure that you inform us beforehand so we can prepare for you. Okay, Brian?
I just want to add din, no, every session is recorded din. So, ina-upload din siya sa classroom in case may gusto kayong balikan. Later on, makikita nyo na yun dyan. Or within this week. Okay? So, that's all. Sir, may add ka pa? Okay na ako.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Happy
you.
weekend.
Thank
You.
you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.